Welcome to the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast. Today's guest is Tyson Colby from AccuTroll, and I'm really excited to talk to Tyson about this product. I think it's something that can really help our Great Lakes anglers and beyond. Northwest, if you're a Finger Lakes troller, doesn't matter. This is a product that will definitely appeal to you. Tyson, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Nice to talk to you again.
I appreciate your time. We did talk to you a few years ago, but I know a lot has happened since then. But for people who didn't catch that episode, tell me a little bit about how this started. First, though, let's go. Just tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your background and where kind of your career and developing things like this. Where did that begin?
Yeah, my life started, I'm a hardware and electronics engineer by education. And, early on in school, I started doing contract engineering. And that's kind of just set the path and tone of my, the path that I've followed. And just always super interested in all things. I think my curiosity sort of up and down the stack from like always wanting to know how things work from like the hardware, then the firmware that runs on it, then middleware and software, and then cloud infrastructure and all that. And so sort of running up and down the full stack, if you will. And so, Inotech engineering started when I was younger. I went through a phase where I moved up to the Pacific Northwest, was the VP of engineering at an ozone generation company where we built and manufactured ozone generation equipment for food and beverage industry. And that's kind of where I got my toes wet into sort of industrial IoT. IoT is Internet of Things for the people that haven't heard that acronym. Where we connected in all of our machinery was connected to the internet, and we can remotely connect into it, control and operate it, and view metrics and history on it. So that's kind of where I got my background in connected things. And then from there, went back into the contract engineering world, sort of revived Inotech engineering, and started doing some really cool, meaningful work with companies like Starbucks and Microsoft. Did a lot of this sort of foundational infrastructure discovery stuff for Starbucks for their connected retail space. So, connected appliances within retail that can, push metrics to the cloud so you can remotely see how they're operating, push new firmware down to the machines. And then from there, obviously, that's all interesting. And that, Inotech engineering was my day job and still is. And that's what made the money. And I decided I wanted to build this product and the thing that spends the money. But, where it started was, I'd acquired a boat. I was fishing in Lake Chelan for kokanee, needing to troll really slow. And, it's basically kicking that kicker motor in and out of gear. And, it's like, man, it's really hard to control the resolution of our trolling speed. And, I'd known about some of the other products on the market that do a similar thing, the retrofit throttle control systems. And I was just like, well, man, there's got to be a better way. And somebody's going to put a breath of fresh air into those products and do them in a more modern way. And so I thought, I figured might as well be me. So, I sort of reapproached. I didn't invent the throttle control system that gets retrofitted onto outboard kicker motors, but I think I've approached it with, a more, modern design approach, and, took my experience and background in the Internet of Things, embedded systems and electronics, and built it in a way where, these are, web server clients, web patterns, apps that can, talk over APIs to the controller. And what that allowed me to do is, shrink that controller into a very small package that can just be installed right under the cowling of the motor, which makes installation super easy because you're no longer running cables in and out of the, through the cowling and through the transom and all that. We just pick up power right there under the hood. And since it's, uses Wi-Fi radios and Bluetooth radios, we can discover those devices and talk to them using those radios. They don't need internet, so don't confuse Wi-Fi with needing to talk to the internet. It's just we're using that as our mechanism or as a radio to talk to the devices. And then it allows us to, easily, it's more of just a product. It's a platform that will allow us to keep adding new products and technologies that integrate, and we're basically just building it in a way that how the world works now. Um, yeah.
Yeah, you moved to the Pacific Northwest in a place where there were some technology companies that were kind of primed for the things that you do, which is really cool. But for our viewers and listeners who are Great Lakes anglers, which it's most of them, tell us a little bit about some of those bodies of water. You alluded to it a little bit there, that you kind of put this product to use on first, and kind of dipped your toes in and saw how this was going to work. Tell us a little bit about some of the places that you're fishing.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, I started, the sort of the idea came to me when I was fishing on a lake, and so that's similar to fishing the lakes where you guys are out, where there's no tidal movement in the water, but having to control your trolling speed at a very low speed was difficult with the mechanical linkages and stuff. So that was kind of where it started, but where I think it got really interesting. So I live in the Puget Sound area. I fish Marine Area 10. So all of the up and down the Puget Sound, and then in the Straits of Juan de Fuca, we get some really big tidal swings in those waters, and so they really act like as a big river system. And with those tide swings, whether you're trolling in or against the current of the tide, your GPS course over ground tells you how fast you're moving over the globe, but it's summing in your net speed with the current of the tide. And so if you're going against it, you're actually it's reporting slower than if you're going with it, and you're going to be reported going faster. So one of the key differences in our throttle control system that is not present in any of the products on the market today is closed loop feedback using speed. Uh, think of this as cruise control, like in your car, but it's cruise control for your trolling speed. And so we can take, we have a gateway product that can plug into your existing NMEA 2000 backbone and pick up your GPS course over ground speed, or if you have a paddle wheel sensor speed, that's even more relevant, because the paddle wheel sensor speed is your water speed vector over water. And so what I was talking about going in and against those tides, if we use the paddle wheel sensor to close the loop, we can truly control that I am going, 2.5 miles an hour through water, and sort of eliminate the bias of current and of the tide. And so with the closed loop speed control, we can maintain set trolling speed no matter if there's windy, choppy, tide swings or whatever. So I think that's what is novel with our product and sets us apart.
Yeah, that was kind of going to be my next question. There are definitely, and you talked to about, there are other products that are similar to this. If people are in the market and they're thinking about buying something that can control speed on their kicker motor, why buy AccuTroll compared to the other competitors that are on the market?
Sure. Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think, what I just mentioned, that we have sort of a novel difference in that we can control our speed through closed loop, meaning you set your trolling speed and we'll automatically modulate your throttle up and down based on conditions to maintain a steady speed. Uh, Additionally, though, it's, I think kind of what I alluded to before is that we're sort of approaching this as like a platform sort of view, not just the product won't end where you purchase. We've got ideas for additional accessories and other technologies and other products and other integrations and collaborations. We'd love to get the down speed from the Fishhawk probe and use that as our feedback source. And so what you're going to get the current product, I think it's superior. It allows you to use a standard phone as your input device. You can use more than one of them, so you can have one up at the front or at the back. Simultaneously, you make adjustments on one, you'll see it reflected on the other. So you're no longer relegated to a static, hard-mounted control box. So like that, compared with the ability to deliver new features and integrations as we evolve the product, we can push those as over-the-air updates. Using our companion app, you'll see that a device will have a new firmware, and using the app, you can push it down to the hardware. And so you're not locked in with what we've got today. You're kind of along for the journey, and we got a lot of exciting things that we're going to add and integrate into the product line.
Yeah, one of the other things that I see is that if somebody already has one of these systems, they can plug into your technology and make that system better. Can you tell me, like, if someone already owns one of these, how can they use your product to make their whole setup on their boat better?
Yeah, sure. So, the difference from boat to boat is going to be, what motor do you have? And so for each motor you have, well, for those of you who don't know how it works, you have to install an actuator, like an RC servo motor, under the cowling that mechanically connects to your throttle linkage so that that servo can pull or release pressure on the throttle. So from boat motor manufacturer to boat motor manufacturer, from year to year, there's slightly differences. And so these fit kits that allow you to mount the servo and tie it to your linkage is sort of the piece that's different between each installation. And so for the other products on the market, they have fitment kits already. And so if you already own one of these systems, you've already gone through the hard work of mounting the servo with a bracket and connecting it to your linkage. And so you have a pretty low risk way of trying out AccuTroll, in the sense that you don't need to repurchase any of that hardware. You've already done the difficult work of installing the motor, the servo motor. You simply unplug the servo motor from your old system, leave it installed out as it is. And our throttle control module is so small, it just installs right under the cowling. You hook it up to the plus and minus of your battery leads that are coming in, and then plug in that servo motor to our controller, and you should be up and running. With obviously you have to do a little bit of calibration to set the sweep range of the servo, but the hard work you've already done. And so moving from one of those systems to ours is pretty easy.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. If somebody buys one of your systems, how does the installation work? You said, well, we've kind of already taken care of the hard work if you already have one. How difficult is it to set this up if somebody wanted to get going with an AccuTroll?
Sure. As far as the throttle controller goes, it's about the size of a pack of gum. You would lift up the cowling of the motor. You'd find your plus and minus terminals for your battery source. The controller has leads on it already, ring terminals. You connect it up. And then we include some mounting it's not even hardware. It's like, sticky back, like VHB, Velcro, heavy duty Velcro stuff. And you find a way, and you could just bury the controller wherever there's open space. Plug it into the servo. The throttle controller is done. If you want to add the speed feedback loop that allows you to control the speed, no matter what, we have another product, which is what we call the NMEA 2000 Wi-Fi gateway. And that's simply a little product with a 1 meter pigtail that has the micro C connector. You plug that into your backbone, your NMEA 2000 backbone, and then that thing is up and running. It has a couple of screw holes. The physical installation is really easy. And then when you go to provision and start all this stuff up and configure it, the app guides you through that whole process. Each product has a barcode on it. You scan the barcodes with the phone, and then the app takes care of the rest of the provisioning. It moves one of the products to the other product's Wi-Fi and gets it all set up, and it sort of walks you through that whole process. So it's just literally scan a couple barcodes, follow the prompts in the app, and then you should be up and running.
And you talked about it being on your phone, but you said, you could set up a secondary display. But if somebody wanted to just, get an iPad or a similar type of tablet, then they don't have to have it on their phone. They can have it dedicated, right at the helm. Is that something that you're seeing a lot as an application there too?
Yeah, I think that's an approach. And you know what? I've had some people say, I don't want to use my phone on the water. And if you think about it, I could bet most people have a phone or two in the drawer, an old one. This doesn't need any super, high performance phone or anything that's even currently connected to, cellular service. The price per compute for a mobile phone is hard to beat. And so it makes a really rich display, gives you a good experience. It's, got cellular radios, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi radios. You could call 911 in a pinch if you had to on an unactivated phone. And so, I would encourage you just go get your old phone and use it as your boat phone. It's got a camera on it. You can, reuse that old technology, put it to work. Right on.
Yeah, for sure. You talked a little bit about this is a product that is going to grow, and you're looking for new partnerships, new people to kind of develop with and innovate with. I know we're one of those companies that wants to work with you on some stuff. Are there other companies that you're talking to do some collaboration with?
So far, it's mostly fish hawk. Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited about that. Tell me about some of the feedback you're getting right now from the people that are using this.
Yeah, we I had this in the hands of a handful of different charter captains out on the Great Lakes for over the last summer to, kind of as like a, early users to help me kind of figure out where things weren't quite right and fix some issues before we sort of released it to the full production and release it to the masses. And there's a couple testimonials I put up on our website on AccuTroll.com. The feedback's been overwhelmingly positive. And one of the themes that I'm getting taken away is that it's one of these kind of things that I didn't know I wanted or needed so bad until I actually experienced it. And so if you're like a charter captain, the product's all about convenience, right? It's like if you can have something managing your speed for you, it's one less thing that you have to go give attention to, and you can spend more time fishing and doing the enjoyable bits. And so, having the system be sort of automating your throttle adjustments and just maintaining that on your behalf, I think is a convenience that you kind of have to experience before you to know that, yeah, how much did you want it? You didn't know how much you wanted it until you tried it or had it, right?
For sure. Is this something that, I mean, we're talking about it as going into use with a kicker motor. Is this something that someone could use on an inboard?
I think is no, you're not. There's nothing stopping you. I think the bit you have to figure out is, can you figure out how to get one of these servo motors to pull on the linkage of the thing that makes it go, and if you can find a way to mount that, and we actually have a kind of a clever way of doing that. I think that might make this really universal, in the sense that we don't always have to find pristine spots to mount it with a bracket. But if you can figure out a way to pull on the linkage or the thing that makes it go, you could put this into anything.
Very cool. This is a product that again, very new. You can go to the website. It's AccuTroll. It's AccuTroll.com. Find out more about it there. But you're also going to make a trip out east in February, and I think we'll have a lot of people that listen to our show that come to the Niagara show, and you're going to be there as well. Tell me about that and your kind of what you expect from the show.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect much other than I just got the website launched in October, and we're just trying to spread the word. And so yeah, trade shows are a way to do that. We're going to be at the Seattle Boat Show here early next year. After that, we'll be in Portland Sportsman Show, and then right on the heels of that, we're flying out to Niagara. Basically based on the feedback from Trevor, and just we've got the geography of the Pacific Northwest, but the Great Lakes are going to be a big part of that. So going to the Niagara Fishing Expo, I think, was going to be a good opportunity to get this sort of exposed to the people that are out there. And so early on, we got to do everything we can do to spread the word, right? People got to know about it before they can get on board and get one. So that's all about just reaching the market.
Yeah, for sure. We got to get it out there so people can see what it's all about. But it's really for people that are out there and they're trolling and they've got a kicker motor on the back of their boat. Like this thing I've seen it in action before, and it is just super slick, and you're really going to enjoy it. And I just think what it does is it just makes it very, very simple for people. And I think that's the key thing for any tool. If it's really hard to use or it's a pain in the butt to use, people are not going to use it. But if you can make something that's very, very important, which is speed when you're trolling, simple and easy to do, I think it's something that people will latch on to. Tyson, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, I just wanted to also mention the remote we have, the Bluetooth
Sure.
remotes. You know, the phone can be your main user interface. You can, you know, get the visual feedback of where things are set. You know, but that doesn't mean you got to carry it around and use it as your main input device. We do have a Bluetooth remote, and that remote does all the things that you can do from the user interface itself. So we got plus and minus buttons, so you can increase or decrease your throttle set point. If you're in closed loop mode and going, you know, miles per hour, you can use it to bump up and down your speed that way. There's a little button on the top. It's like a cruise lock button, just like on your car where you set cruise. If you're got this thing in open loop and you like your speed, you go and you hit that top button. It's just going to hold your speed at that current speed. We can go in between idle and resume. And then we have 3 user mappable buttons. And, you know, some of these other controllers, they've got these different modes, different programming schemes that like modulate the throttle in different ways. And rather than trying to like mimic those exactly, or even, you know, I think there's people that like to control their boat in different ways. And so we're approaching this a little differently. With the Bluetooth remote, we have these buttons 1, 2, and 3. Each button the user can define their own instruction set or their own macro. It can be a single instruction or a series of instructions that execute in sequential order. And for each button, a single click and a double click is an available slot to define a macro. And so I'll explain how that works. You know, if you're going at a set speed, I can program macro like button number 1, a single click. I can go into the app and I can author what those series of instructions are. So out of the box, we're not trying to say here's our different clever ways of modulating the throttle. We're going to give that ability to you to author yourself. So you could say, I want to take my current speed and I want to increase it by 30%. And then I want to wait 30 seconds and then put it back to where it was, and then wait 30 seconds and reduce it by 30%, wait 30 seconds, put it back to where it was, and then repeat. So you can define a repeating macro that would then modulate your speed. If you want to like program a stall, you could say, you know, reduce my speed by 70% and wait 30 seconds and then put the speed back to where it was. And so you can author all these different macros or program these buttons to do whatever you want. So we're just trying to keep it as like a command and control and something that you can then go put your flavor on it, rather than try to like, you know, solve all the different, you know, clever ways of controlling your speed.
Yeah, I love it. You've really made it so that people can make it their own, and you've made it so that as technology and things grow, you're going to be able to update this thing, which is, it's really cool that it's kind of it's an awesome product, but it's a product that is always going to just get better. So I think that's super cool. If people want to find out more, again, the website is AccuTroll, AccuTroll.com, AccuTroll.com. He is Tyson Colby. Really appreciate your time today, Tyson, and thanks for dropping by the show.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I appreciate you, you know, letting me address the market and address your audience. I appreciate the time.
Very cool. Can't wait to touch base with you soon. And we'll see everybody with Tyson at the Niagara Expo in February.